Today's video, we're going to talk about an excellent survival rifle, the Mosin Nagant 7.62 by 5.4R. My name is Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Thanks for stopping in. Okay, folks, so this is the Mosin Nagant 7.62 by 5.4R Russian battle rifle. This is a 1943 model, so it's been around, seen its day. And I just want to talk to you briefly about why, A, I'm making a firearms video, and B, why I think this is an excellent choice for a survival, sustainability type firearm. I'm going to go ahead and say up front that I'm not an expert on firearms. I'm certainly not an expert on the Mosin Nagant firearms. There are lots and lots of websites and other people, other YouTube channels that know a whole lot more about this rifle and firearms in general than I do. However, this is about, my channel is kind of about survival and preparedness, and I think, and with a focus on more real world, ordinary budget kind of stuff. And so I think this qualifies to fit those criteria, so that's why I thought we'd talk about it. I probably not going to do a lot of firearms videos, but this is one I thought would fit the bill anyway. One of the criteria that I try to follow when choosing subjects for videos for the channel is it something that is applicable for a survival type situation? Is it something that for the most part anyone can afford? And is it pretty readily available? And you know, every now and then I may talk about something, review something that's a little more pricey, but generally I'm going for the average guy, average woman, you know, kind of thing. So long story short anyway, so I don't mean to ramble, but we'll talk about this gun for a minute, this rifle. So, we'll talk about the details and show you some close-ups and all that good stuff. Alrighty, again, this is the Mosin Nagant 7.62 by 5.4R Russian rifle. This rifle is a bolt-action rifle. The overall length of this rifle is 48.5 inches. The barrel length is 28 3/4 inches. This rifle weighs in at 8 3/4 pounds. With a sight radius of 24.5 inches. The stock is a full wood stock with a steel butt plate, and these things are priced usually around under $200. There are several variations, but the 9130 is probably the most common. That's what this one is. I'll show you some close-ups here. This is a bolt action, and if you notice, one thing about this is kind of unique to this rifle, the bolt sticks straight out. So when you open the bolt up, then it's going to be right in the way of where your scope would be. So that creates some challenges in putting a scope on this rifle, which is one of the challenges. You can either put an offset mount on it. They make offset mounts that actually go kind of at an angle here that you can take the place of this sight. They also make some long eye relief scopes, or the other option, which a lot of people go for, is you can change the bolt out and put a bent bolt on it. And there's guys on the internet that do that for around 50, 60 bucks. You'll sell you a new one with a bent handle on it. And that will clear a regular scope. There's several different options for scope mounts. We've chosen to leave this one with iron sights because it's pretty accurate with iron sights out to 200 or 300 yards actually. So, and that's what it's designed for. It's designed for a battlefield weapon. They didn't have a lot of scopes back then. These things were sometimes used as sniper rifles and outfitted with scopes. And my understanding is what they did is they just shot a bunch of them, picked the most accurate ones, and used those, I guess, transferred those into sniper use. Interestingly enough, a lot of the Russian snipers, as it turns out, I found out, are women. So those got to be some tough women, because another thing about this rifle that you need to be aware of is it kicks like a Tennessee mule. I mean, it's essentially a 30-06 caliber ballistics bolt action, so there's no action to absorb any recoil, and there's a steel butt plate on it. When you touch the trigger off on this thing, you know, you're going to know it. That's all I'm going to say. So I got a lot of respect for those Russian soldiers who are out there all day long, just bam, bam, bam. I guess if somebody's shooting at you, you know, you probably ignore that. So this thing again holds 5 shots. It loads from the top. You just push the rounds down in. Being that they are rimmed rounds, you got to make sure that the rim, that on every rim goes in front of the one below it, so they don't get snagged when they load. But then you chamber one. If you need to remove the rounds, you can open the magazine release here and dump the rounds out of the bottom. But typically they're going to load from the top. I think they used to have stripper clips, and they used that, but a lot of guys didn't like them because they would put them in backwards. The safety on this rifle is pretty it's not complicated, but it's pretty daggum tough. You got to pull this thing out and twist it. Okay, now it's offset and that's on safe, and it won't pull. If you let it go back, it's off safe, it'll pull. So the sights. The sight is a ramp sight on the back, and it's adjustable for elevation. Goes out to 1,000 meters, I think. And my understanding is the sight here is a battle sight. That's basically for 300 meters, I think. Again, you need to check with if you want to get one of these rifles, just go for it and get it, but check for the details. Check some more expert type sights. There's some sights out there that are devoted specifically to this rifle. It's very popular. Sights, just a hooded front sight. Let's see, steel butt plate. It's got a full wooden stock. One thing you're going to notice is if you get one of these, it's going to be covered in this greasy stuff called cosmoline. Cosmoline is a preservative which prevents rust and decay on the rifle, but it's got to be cleaned off before you can really shoot it, because it could clog everything up. It's just not good, and it's greasy and slimy. That is a job that you will never forget. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Look those up too. I used mineral spirits, worked okay, but you got to clean all this stuff off, and I would figure on spending most of the day doing that, and it's going to take you most of the day. One thing you do need to look at, in my opinion, when if you decide to get one of these rifles, is the trigger pull. Now, some of these are notorious for having a long, creepy trigger pull. In other words, you got to move the trigger a pretty good ways before it goes off, and it's not even smooth. It's got a lot of creep and drag and grittiness in it, so it's not a real smooth trigger pull. We got really lucky on this one. This is my son's rifle. So the way you check that is go ahead and make sure the chamber is empty, okay? Load it back, and then just put your finger, we'll go back here where you can see it, put your finger on the trigger and just begin to move it. Okay, this one, I don't know if you could tell that, but this one is almost a hair trigger. It only moves, I mean, just the tiniest bit before it releases. And it's not great, it's in my opinion, a very excellent trigger. We got lucky on this one, like I say. I looked at two other ones 2 days ago, and the triggers on those were very, very long, very gritty, kind of creepy, and not at all what I expected after shooting. This is the first one I'd really shot. I didn't shoot those, I just tried the trigger out. Again, this was about $170 in 2013. I looked at some a couple of days ago in May 2014 for $160 to $180. A couple things to look at. There's two different armories these things are made from, were made in. One of them is Tula, and the other one is Evzhesk, maybe. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I'll put a note here. You can pronounce it the way you want to. And this is from if you can look, you see the little triangle right there with an arrow in it. This is the Evzhesk armory, and you see this was made in 1943. The Tula armory has a star with a little arrow in it. And some of those have octagon receivers, whereas you can see this one is rounded right here. Some of them have an octagon receiver, and those are supposedly a little more sought after. So the only other thing I guess there is to say about this, the reason I like this rifle is several reasons. The price is great, under $200 for a high caliber rifle that is capable of taking any game in North America. It's a same ballistics basically as a 30-06 or a 308. The rifle's not super, 8 3/4 pounds is not a lightweight rifle, but it gets the job done. It is a inherently accurate rifle. It's got a long barrel, and the ballistics of this cartridge are inherently accurate. It's designed for battlefield use, so it's very dependable design. This rifle's been in use a long time, so it stood the test of time, and it's just a very functional, accurate design. Another thing I like about it especially is the ammunition is extremely low cost compared to 30-06 or 308 ammo. It's $20 a box maybe for 30-06, ballpark, around $1 a round, whereas you can buy 440 rounds of this stuff for about $115 in Atlanta area anyway. So that's around a quarter a round. And they have basically two different types of ammo for it, surplus ammo. They call it spam cams, and it comes in, looks like a spam can. It looks like with almost like a little roller on it. And those, in my understanding, are steel core ammo, so most ranges are not going to let you shoot it. It's corrosive ammo. It's all Russian surplus ammo. It's corrosive, so the primers are corrosive primers, so you need to clean it really well after you use it. And there's another one that comes in, the kind we got comes in a lead box, and it is it's lead core instead of steel core. It's still surplus ammo. I think you can also buy, you know, factory new ammo that I think people are making to fit for this caliber and shoot. But those are the two main sources of ammo you're going to find, and it's again a quarter a round or so. So it's probably one of the cheapest high caliber rounds you can get to shoot. So all in all, it's a really good. I think it's a good choice for survival, like sustainability, or just plain go have fun and shoot rifle. So all kinds of modifications. You can look on the internet and find different things you can do, different stocks, whatever, aftermarket stuff for it. We chose to leave this one as it is just because kind of like the military look of it, kind of like the historical look. But shoots really good. Again, make sure you check the trigger. You may not be able to find one with a great trigger. Again, we just got really lucky. Every other one I've seen so far has got a really gritty, creepy, long travel trigger. Good luck on that if you decide to get one of these. But even if the trigger is pretty bad, I mean, it's going to be okay. And this is a great rifle to have. Under 200 bucks, cheap ammo, blah, blah, blah. We went over all that. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful. Again, I'm not a firearms expert. This is not a firearms channel, and I don't plan to turn it into one. But I do want to cover some things which I think are useful, survival type gear. And that's kind of what I think about this rifle. It's a very low cost, fun shooting, but yet very practical firearm. As always, appreciate you watching. Thanks for subscribing to Survival on Purpose. Thanks for giving this video a thumbs up if you like it. Tell your friends about it if you think they will. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to, check out my Amazon store below. That'll help support the channel. And just thanks for all your support and all your help. My name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. See you next time.